it, concerns how to communicate digitally, how to be really socially aware of the fact that people are scared in COVID and the fact that people are really, really dying and craving that, super personal connection that we used to normally get when we could do face-to-face interactions. These are all strategies that I'm currently using in my business today, some things that I started implementing in the last quarter of the year. And so I will talk to you about how some of those things work for me. I'll give you guys examples of actual things that I've sent out, like our letter of the heart. And then each of you guys will be getting a copy of the workbook, right, that I'm going to be presenting with. So for those of you who have never met me, you never heard of me, just like the name of this class, my name is Lizy Hoeffer. I have been a loan officer since 2008 here in the Valley. I've had to rebuild my business twice in my career. Once because I was just moonlighting as a loan officer when I was a processor, and when the original market crashed, I had to learn how to be a salesperson. And then in 2013, I actually got fired from my job as a top producer and then had to literally build my database from scratch using just the tools that were available to me at the time, which was my cell phone and Facebook. So I will tell you that these database strategies work the best if you can utilize things like Facebook and or a social media platform that allows you to, connect back and forth. Twitter is not a platform that I really feel that you can grow a database on. I honestly think it's difficult with things like Snapchat, but places like LinkedIn are really good. Instagram are really good. Facebook, I think, is the best. The majority of people have a Facebook account, still communicate on Facebook. And there's a lot of data being shown right now that people are actually utilizing it a lot like text message. So even though people think that Facebook is gone, it really isn't. It's still king of the castle. Okay. So I am going to share my screen and we are going to kick this off. Can you guys all see this? Can I get a head nod, Sandra?
Yes, you got it.
Yep.
Okay, appreciate it. Okay, so very first thing that you guys want to be aware of, right, is just why the need for a database, right? And so obviously there's all the NARS Association facts with just about the fact that 20% of referrals will always come from your past clients. And then for agents that have been in the business for 16 plus years, 42% of their business actually comes from repeat clients and 21% from referrals. So basically 63% of all of the business that somebody does, the longer they've been in business, will come from some form of database management. Now, when they survey clients, though, oftentimes many of them, if they haven't been in contact with their realtor, will say that they had a great experience with their first real estate transaction. But many first-time homebuyers can't actually remember who their real estate agent was. And a lot of times, just through dealing with real estate agents, coaching them, talking to them, I cannot even tell you how many of them don't have an organized place for where all their contacts are, names, email addresses. They don't have a system for how to reach out to them. Basically, the referrals that they get from their database are just people that were so satisfied that they held on to their information and reached out to them years after the fact. What's challenging about this strategy, guys, is that if you ever change your phone number, or if a client, can't spell your name right, or they get a different phone, right, basically that relationship is severed. So you really want to make sure that you control the data and that you control that communication line and that you're constantly providing data. Now, what interestingly enough has happened though in COVID is that there was a very big emphasis on people trying to get on a do not call list, the do not text list, the don't contact me list, right? That was really big initiative that was done before COVID hit, right? There was all these new apps, sending people to spam. And what they've actually found in the data is that US customers want live conversations with customer service representatives. If you were ever going to make a cold call in your life, now is the market to do it, right? People want good, solid, knowledgeable communication with a friendly person on the other end because they're not getting that interaction basically anywhere else. you have to remember that a lot of people are still social distancing themselves from friends, from family. They're not going to holiday events. And so when they can speak to somebody super friendly over the phone, they're actually more willing to do that in this environment. So if you guys are familiar with the communication pyramid, and this was actually first made popular by a book called The 7 Levels of Communication. If you guys have not read that book, I highly recommend it. It's one of the best database starter books that you can ever get. But essentially what it talks about is, how to reach clients. And so your highest conversion, but the least amount of people that you can convert with, is a face-to-face meeting, right? That is the highest conversion. Now, the next one is like events, where you have events with multiple people. So maybe like a group happy hour, a class, a client party, right? And then it goes to phone calls, texts, and direct messages, right? This is what it used to be. Then personal notes and gifts. And then it starts going down to email, social media, direct mail, and advertising, right? So you've noticed that the pyramid gets larger because you get to expose yourself to more people, but you actually have less conversion the larger the square, or the larger the section is on this pyramid, right? So your advertising will reach a variety of different people, right? But one, it's expensive, and two, like, you have the lowest amount of conversion, right? So a lead will convert, like a hot lead referral will convert in the 70%. An online lead converts at under 1%. Okay, and you have to be really good. And an average lead that you buy on the internet takes 37 like communication attempts before you actually convert it. So I just want you to know, like, as you go down in this pyramid, right, you want to spend your time face to face. Now, in this environment, this is what the communication pyramid is actually going to look like. This is what it actually looks like in 2001, right? So certain people are still doing one-on-one meetings. You saw that the real estate agents that were still willing to meet with clients in, the early stages of the pandemic, they're actually the ones that accelerated their careers, ones that, maybe were more limited, had more strict policies on face-to-face contact, saw a little bit of a dip in their business, right? And that's just because, quite frankly, face-to-face communication, belly-to-belly communication is where people build the deepest relationships. So that is still king if you feel comfortable with it. Now, next thing there is a phone call, right? People love to, actually have conversations, and we'll talk about how to build those connections. Next is text and direct messages. One thing I want to go back to here is that 50% of consumers wanted live conversations with their sales representatives. 17.6% were okay with a chat message. Okay. And that was like direct chat back and forth. 10% were okay with a direct message, 8.8 with an email. So when we're going to this communication pyramid, right? So we know one-on-one, you're going to convert. Phone calls, you have a 50% chance of converting. Text messages, direct messages, right, drop down all the way to 10%. Okay, so you're really dropping your conversion, especially now when people want face-to-face communication. Then we have Zoom meetings, online groups, personal notes, again, email, social media, direct mail, and advertising. Now, one thing I want you guys to know is that everything in yellow here, all of these activities are conversion attempts. This is actually what we consider prospecting. Okay. Anything below personal note, so the email, the social media, the direct mail, the advertising, those are for informational purposes only. And if you want to convert, one, your people have to see them a lot of times, like 8 times to even know your name, right? And they have to have a super strong call to action. Okay, if they don't have a super strong call to action, like, you're basically wasting your money. But just so you know, these are supportive tasks versus prospecting tasks. Okay. Now, a couple of things that I want to talk to you about are like trends in communication before we really break down like how to break down your database and how to convert. So these are a couple of things that you want to consider, because one of the biggest challenges that I'm finding right now when I'm meeting with real estate agents or business professionals is how to start growing their databases when the traditional methods are kind of shut down, right? So no more networking groups, really. people aren't gathering, meetups aren't really happening, open houses really aren't happening, housewarming parties aren't really happening. Like, they're just few and far between. So here's some communication tips for right now. Join or create an online community, something that you're actually interested in. Okay, so this could be a neighborhood group, this could be a CrossFit group, this could be a Bible group, whatever you feel super inclined and passionate about, where you can be a point of influence, right? So a place where you can, comment on people, provide feedback, answer questions, right? We want you to join those. Okay, so some really great things that you can think about, and you're really seeing people's dire need for this, right? Think Clubhouse. Like, that's the latest and greatest social media. People are doing that to be connected, to listen to people, to have that connection where they can't go to masterminds, can't go to events right now, right? And so these creators have created this entire social media platform to connect with their databases. Okay, you can do the same thing with clients. Facebook groups are really great. There's a group, a thing called Twitch, right? It's typically for video gaming. However, every Saturday I've been doing a show with Javier, and we do a live chat about real estate on there. And it's actually started to grow. It started off with like 10 people. Now it's up to 60. Really great. And then think about FB lives, Instagram lives, YouTube lives. Okay. Other thing to keep in mind, right? People want a purposeful interaction and want people who are purposeful about business. So they want to know what causes you care about and what type of human being you are. People who are going to win with their databases in 2021 are people who are not scared to show their personal life and their families and their interests on their social media platforms. Okay, so you want to be really thoughtful about how you introduce yourself, what your bio sounds like, and then what contribution you're bringing. Okay, so when you introduce yourself to a new group of people, right, if you're really looking to make new connections and add people to your database, you have to think about, well, one, you're going to introduce yourself by your name. So I would say, hi, I'm Lizy Hoeffer. You would include a fun fact or an award-winning fact, or you include something that's factual. So like, for instance, if I was going into a mom group, I would say, hey, I'm Lizy Hoeffer. I'm the mom of 3 children. I'm looking to, connect with other women, build friendships, and I provide a whole lot of tips on financial advice. And in return, what I'm looking for is X, right? If I was going to a business group, right, with real estate agents, typically I'm like, hey, I'm Lizy Hoeffer. I'm America's #1 female loan officer, which happens to be a true stat, right? I know a lot about real estate, a lot about marketing, a lot about finance. And I would love if I brought value to your business, if in return you would consider me a referral partner, right? So when you introduce yourself, you have to think about all of those things. You also want to make sure that all of your social media profiles include these things, right? So when somebody goes to your page, right, if you've provided them with value, they'll show up on your page. They want to know who you are, what value you bring, right, and what you're looking for, right? Okay. So when you contribute to groups, the other easiest way is to recognize people who are contributing or adding value to your platforms or in other platforms, right? And then taking the conversation offline. So one thing that I have also done is said, hey, I really loved your post on X. It was really interesting. I'd love to talk about that more offline. Would you be interested in setting up a Zoom chat? Right? It replaces a coffee meeting, right? You can see somebody on Zoom. It's 30 minutes. You really get to know them. I've actually done this quite a bit. And what's cool is you can actually do this with other real estate agents around the country and start building up your referral database, right? There's a ton of people moving to Arizona right now from other states. And so being able to participate in real estate groups where you can provide yourself like marketing advice, business advice, sharing your letters of the hearts, right? If you can do that, you can actually grow your business network that way. Super interesting, really great way also to do this is with business people who are used to having these coffee meetings, insurance agents, divorce attorneys, tax accountants, maybe not right now, but I mean in the future, right? You can start meeting with these business professionals, setting up a Zoom call, creating maybe a business networking group online. Super huge. I know that a lot of BNI groups right now are doing small group BNI meetings, right? Which just stands for Business Networking International. I have an entire list of professions that I can send you guys if you're interested, right? On all the different, types of professions that you can reach out to for business. And then the other thing, guys, and I say this a lot, when you participate in groups, when you post online, when you commit to having a database strategy, it has to be authentic, right? It needs to be transparent. So people need to know what value you bring, what you expect in return. It has to be consistent, and it has to be quality, right? So you have to spend some money, get quality photos, quality printing, right? Make sure your audio sounds good, right? So otherwise, people who have bad video cams, right? You think it's just a bad video cam, but honestly, you just look unprofessional. So I just want you guys to be aware that all of this matters when you're doing digital communication. So I have a Brio Logitech, and it's like one of the best video cams specifically for this, because I do and host a lot of live chats, and I do a lot of communication with clients. It has really good audio, which you can also get a microphone, and it has really good visuals. Okay, super, super, super important that you have the right tools, right, to communicate effectively online. All right, so those are the communication trends. So now let's go into like what a database is for those of you who don't know. So a database is just really a system for how you collect information for friends, family, business partners, service providers, and the most important, your current, past, and potential clients, okay? You can organize them a variety of different ways. When I first started, I had everything in Google. Google is a phenomenal database system, right? And it has a ton of supportive apps like Boomerang that remind you to be in contact with people. And you can sort out and label. It's really great. It's very effective. It also connects with things like MailChimp, so you can do a variety of mailings. But eventually you're going to want to get something a little bit more robust. So things that I would consider, Follow Up Boss, I think, is a really great system in CRM, and it connects with Ylopo, which is an IDX site for generating advertisements. That's my favorite one, for CRMs. And then I use Salesforce, right? So, and that's because I have a team of 30 people and it requires a really robust, CRM. Other strategies, guys, Facebook, I think, is a really powerful place to collect information. A lot of people have their phone numbers. They for sure have their emails on there, right? They're communicating. Most of the time you can call people through Facebook. You can direct message them through Facebook. Even if you don't have their contact information, I think Facebook is like the number 2 tool to have, no matter what your beliefs are on it. Okay. Now, I think a well-rounded database has at minimum 300 people. Okay. Now, 150 of them, you should be able to categorize in these things. So a client list, so these are past and current clients. And a current client, guys, is somebody that you have a listing agreement with or a buyer broker signed. Okay. It's super important that if somebody has not done business with you, that they're not included in that list, because there's going to be other lists. And we want to make sure that these lists are super clean, honest, right? So that we can have the most effective marketing. Then the next list is going to be influencers. So you only want to have influencers that have an actual database, right? So people who are active referral partners, like pastors from your church, you're the lead organizer in your CrossFit group, right? If you posted on Facebook and said, hey, I'm looking for an accountant, they're shoving theirs down your throat, right? Like, you want these people to have actual influence and be a networker. Okay. Now, people who would are just very excited about your business and refer you, but really they never go out. They're not part of business groups, all that. They're wonderful people to have, and we'll have them in our database, but they're not considered an influencer, right? You want to try to get as many of those types of influential people as possible. I say 15 here, but if you even start off with 10, you're winning. Okay. And then 50 business contacts. So these can be just anyone who you network with on a consistent basis. And the idea is that you provide each other with leads or services. Okay. Then you want 150 people that fall in this perspectives category, right? So potential business partners, potential influencers, potential client lists. And you want to review this list every 90 days because you want people to have moved up or out. Okay. We don't just keep random people in our database. You can keep them in your marketing list, and we'll talk about that. But in the actual list that you communicate with, spend time on, spend money on in terms of resources, like we keep it to this 300 super solid list. Okay. Now, once you have 300 people selected, we're going to do a ranking process to find out how likely these people are to refer you. So that way, you know what category of marketing to put them in and how frequently you're going to communicate with them. Okay. So you're going to rank everyone by one, how much you like them. Okay. If you have somebody in your database and the very first reaction that you get is, ugh, and we all have them. Okay. Everybody has them. You need to remove them. Now, if you cannot remove them, what I always suggest is put a Z in front of their name so that they go to the very bottom of your cell phone. Okay. I have family members that have Z's in front of their name. I don't want to call them. I don't want to see their name when I'm on prospecting. The more times that you come up to something, like your whole body is wired to protect you against things that make you uncomfortable. If when you're prospecting, you have a whole bunch of people you would never want to speak to, your brain will then tell you that prospecting is an unsafe activity and you'll be less inclined to do it. So you really, really need to take this seriously. If you do not like them, they got to get out, or you put a Z. Okay. Then the next thing you have to do is, how much do they like you? Right? Like, how much do they like you? Then how much influence do they have? And how likely are they, right, to use their influence to refer you? Okay. Now, I'm going to give you a good example of this, right? I'm going to take you through this. So my mom is a project manager. She runs a department for quality control for Raytheon. Okay. She runs a team like a couple dozen people, and people see her as a center of influence for their business. They trust her advice, right? And I happen to be at an auction qualifying somebody who worked at Raytheon on my mom's team, and my mom did not mention that I was a loan officer. And when I talked to my mom about it, because I've done her loans over and over again, her thing was, she didn't want to mess up her business relationships in case something happened to that person's home loan. Okay. So, like, here's the thing. I know my mom loves me. Okay. I love my mom. So she passed the first two. She has influence, but failed on number 4 because she's not willing to use that influence, right, to help me. Now, I keep my mom on my past clients list, but she is not somebody that I spend a lot of time on calling. Okay. She's just not somebody I'm going to go through. So that's what you want to find out. On here, your raving fans get a 9 to 10 in each of the categories. Okay. They're the people that would do anything for you in your business. Okay. They're the people that post online about you. They're the people that send you tons of referrals. They're the people that get so excited about your business. Right. Now, a promoter is very similar to a raving fan, except promoters, like, they don't have as much influence as a raving fan, right? They're just, if somebody says, hey, do anybody need a good loan officer? They're like, oh my God, Lizy Hoeffer, right? They're excited, but they're not like busting doors down and shoving my business card down people's throats, okay? So you just have to know they're loyal customers. They'll promote your services, okay? But like, it ends there. Then you have passive people, and really it says 5 to 6 here. It should be 4 to 6, just so you guys know. The majority of the population ends up in this passive category. They do what they're told, which is why it is so super important to have a database strategy that stays in front of them all the time, telling them what to do. The next step is, if you're interested, the next step is like strong call to action. They will do business with people who are referred by promoters and raving fans, or they won't do business based on what a detractor says. Okay. They're the people that you met at the open house that you love to death. You thought you built the best relationship with, and then they ghosted you. Okay. And it's because they found out that their aunt's a real estate agent or that their mom has somebody that they need to use, right? That's a passive person. Again, I want you to write this down. 60% of the population is in that category. Okay, so that means even your past clients, the majority of them have to be communicated with at such a high level for them to continue to do business with you again. Then the last one is detractors. So that should be anywhere between, 0 to 3. Now, these are disappointed clients. These are people that you maybe made upset in business. A lot of times, and I've seen a lot of people just be like, F those people, I'm just not going to talk to them again. Who cares? I think that it is just as important to love on those people and make it right as possible, because they're just as impactful as a raving fan, but the negative way, right? They will go out of their way to tell everyone and their mother why they should not do business with you. So it's super important that you have a good strategy for how to love on these people long term, right? So that at least they become neutral to your business, right? We definitely don't want like a super angry detractor. So those people are in my database literally as detractors, right? So that way they're on an I'm sorry program. We try to love on them for at least a year, and then hopefully it just neutralizes them. Okay. But you don't want to just forget them. I promise you, big corporations have strategies for how they handle this. And you've literally heard on the news companies who have handled disgruntled clients terribly, right? Like United Airlines kicking that whole family off with a 2-year-old daughter who didn't want to put a mask on. I don't know. That was so viral on my social media for like an entire week. I mean, and they did nothing to handle it well. And that's how out of control it got. So you just want to know that, like, no, you're not United Airlines, but your communities are small and the majority of your business comes from your spheres. So you cannot ignore these detractors. All right. So now some of you have been in business for a long time and you have not kept up a good database strategy. And the number one thing that I hear when I say, okay, now you're going to start communicating, is how uncomfortable you feel since it's been so long. And you feel kind of guilty now reaching out with business. Okay. So here's what I'm going to say. You got to start small and you got to just own it. Right. So I start off with a letter of the heart, right? So just basically a confessional that just says, hey, this is what's been going on in my business. This is what happened. I realized that doing business with people I know and like is the best way to do business. And I'm so sorry that I didn't keep better contact in the past, but here's what I'm going to do moving forward. Now, you only get one chance at a confession letter. Okay. Like, you can't just keep apologizing all the time, because then you just make yourself look really unprofessional. Right? So you just want to make sure that if you haven't, you do it now, or that if, let's say, you did do this and then drop the ball again, that you have a really great reason to reach out to them. Like, what new item of value are providing to them for free? Okay. All right. So here's the latest letter of the heart that I sent out, and I will be giving you guys a copy of it because I realized it didn't really show up that clear here. But essentially, you want to start the letter off with something that's going to catch people's attention. Typically, it's like a very authentic introduction with what's happened in your life, right? And I always provide some item of value every single time I send a letter of the heart. Sometimes it's a coupon, a gift card, a lottery ticket, an invitation to an event I'm having. Like, there's always some item of value. And I always notate that there's an item of value right at the very beginning. Okay. So this one says, what a year. I'm not sure how else to describe it, but let's say I owe you a pizza, right? Because this came with a pizza gift card. I basically talk about what it was like, to work in COVID and have a 30-member team that had to go completely remote, and I wasn't prepared, right? Because I don't, just to be super candid, I don't feel like anybody handled this that well, and even us. So you want an authentic introduction to what's been happening in your life. And then you want to get real fast. Okay. You want to get to the bottom line. Like, this was the way that we struggled. These are the things that we did, this is how we overcame. I literally talk about how, like, the communication issues that we had, internet issues, phone issues. And then I remind them that we all worked 15-hour days, 7 days a week. And I am actually proud of everybody who did this because it was so difficult. right? And now we have better systems for communication, we have better efficiencies, and moving into the new year, I talk about all the value that we're going to add to them, right? Here's how we improved our communication. Here's the new app that we're doing. I created a whole budgeting program for clients, right? Because in COVID, a lot of times people are fearful of what they'll do with money should they get furloughed or laid off or get a pay reduction. Okay. So you add value, and then you bring it home with a "we're in this together" statement. Okay. So one of the things that's super helpful is you can't be preachy. You have to say, this was a problem that I also experienced. Here's how, some tools that help me overcome. Okay. If you just give advice without sharing the pain, it really, like, unless you're like the most eloquent writer in the entire world, it comes across as you're the hero and it's like holier than thou. You want to be really careful. So you want to make sure that you provide a shared pain that shows that you're in this together. You always want to end every letter with gratitude. Okay. And then the explanation of your item of value, right? So in this case, this was, why we gave a Grimaldi's Pizza gift card. I ended it with a good quote, and then I wished them all well. Okay. So that is how you start this, right? It gives you then multiple conversation starters. Okay. So you send this letter of the heart out. Okay. The very next thing that you can do is call your database. Hey, did you get the letter? Like, hey, I just want to let you know how much you mean to me, right? These were actual responses that I got, and we're still getting them literally every day, because I sent this out, I don't know, like the week before Christmas, but then all of a sudden, because of all the drama with the post office, people got them the first couple of weeks in January, and then people don't check their mail. So now people are still getting them. Okay. But actual responses. So, people just being super encouraging, sending prayers, rooting me on, saying that they're going to help refer clients to us. This is, again, how you find out what people rank in your database. Okay. Then people I haven't heard from, I'm like, hey, did you get the Grimaldi's gift card? You were just super important to me. I just want to let you know all the things that are rolling out this year. Do you want to get signed up for the app? Do you want to get signed up for HomeBot? What are you thinking about these things? Right? And it gives us this conversation starter. Things I want you to remember, right? The easiest way to communicate with people is an acronym, right? So when you're making phone calls, right, is to find out about their family. Okay. Find out what fun things that they're doing, even now in COVID, right? Find out ways that they're participating, like what groups are they in online? How can you provide them value? Ask them about their jobs, right? Especially if they're in the service related industries, ask them if there's anything that you can do to help them. And then ask them if there's anything that you can do to help them accomplish any goals, right? So again, you have a reason now to call them because you sent them out this really great letter and you want to let them know that they're important to you. And then you're going to seek out additional information, family, recreation, occupation, and goals. And then you're going to get a homework assignment, something that you can research for them, something that you can provide them after this phone conversation to make sure that you can have continued communication. Okay. Super important that the influencers are on at least like a weekly phone call, if not bi-weekly, but you have to communicate with them all of the time because they're going to have the biggest impact to your like database of anyone else. All right. So do's and don'ts, and this actually applies honestly to social media content as well. But do's and don'ts for the letter of the heart. Share a life lesson is a do, preach, don't. Okay, provide value, then ask. Don't ask and then try to provide some sort of value, right? You have to provide value before you're even able to ask anything. Create connection through common struggle. This is the worst one. It's not going deep enough. I can't even tell you how many times I get these letters of the heart and they're like, yes, this was really horrible. And then they switch this subject and then just start asking for business. So you have to go deep, but you cannot give so much detail that it's like 10 pages. No one has time to read your life story. You need to keep it to 2 pages. And remember, this is about adding value and creating connection. So when you're writing the letter of the heart, have those two things in mind so that you can create something that people will really want to read that will connect them back to you. If you cannot easily find the what's in it for them, you got to rewrite it. Other do is share photos. So what's important about that is I had photos that also told the story through visuals. And because I was willing to share photos of me and my family, me and my husband, they feel like an insider into my life. I also shared lots of personal photos, stories, hobbies, interests on my social media so that people understand like what I'm about. Okay. It deepens your connection more than you know. I can't even tell you how many times I have people, they're like, hey, can you send me that pasta recipe I saw you make? Or, oh my God, your kids are getting so big. Or, oh my God, I can't believe Calvin just got his first haircut. Like this was like all I talked about this past weekend. Okay, so not going deep enough or going too deep and then not sharing photos, deal killers for a letter of the heart. All right. Now that you sent out a letter of the heart, you need to have a consistent strategy for how you communicate with people. Okay. And I've put this down here and I'm going to send this to you, but essentially if you have past clients from last year, this is a good time to send the annual statements, the settlement statements. Everybody needs it for their taxes. And then I would recommend sending quarterly market videos. And these are the months I would send them: February, April, June, August. Okay. And then maybe October. Like you really just want to send them kind of every other month or so. And you want to, like, if you send them out in January, you kind of get lost in the shuffle with like people's New Year's resolutions and all that stuff. And then if you do it in December, you're getting lost with the holidays. So I think February is a really great month. It actually and you have a lot of data to go by. Okay, then April's right after the first quarter. Again, lots of really good data. June, end of the third quarter, lots of good data. August, you get them right before second home season. October, you get to nail people before they get distracted with the holidays. Okay. Another great reason to call people is monthly anniversaries. So in January, whose home did you sell a year ago? Right? Do an annual review. What upgrades did they do? What new neighborhood features should they know about? Have they done any upgrades that they should let you know about? Are they signed up for HomeBot? Right? Do they know what the values are in their neighborhood? So many things. Also providing them with their warranty information after 1 year, super valuable. Okay. Other monthly phone calls, birthdays, call them when it's their birthday. Then you can set up a HomeBot email, or you can set up an MLS search for just sold homes so that people can get regular data. What I love about HomeBot, guys, is that it tells you when people are searching outside of their area. It tells you how often they check it, if they're interested in refinancing, if they're inquiring about their home value. Super, super connected tool to help you guys have value to then call about. All right. Then every Tuesday of the month, I would recommend sending out an evidence of success email or a hot investment item or an item of value. So an evidence of success is you telling somebody's success story, right? But make sure that when you do that, you are not the hero. So just say, hey guys, many times people tell me that, they're too discouraged to qualify for a home loan because they're unsure about their credit. Well, let me tell you about Martha. Martha came to me about a year and a half ago wanting to qualify. At the time, she wasn't ready. She ended up going on a 6-month credit plan. And today she's closing on her brand new build house that she will love and cherish for 10 years from now. Honestly, like, don't be scared of failure. You should be terrified of regrets. Don't regret not making this decision today, right? Like all that great life advice, tells the success stories, shows you as the guide, somebody who can help them get to their achieved dream. Okay. And then hot investments, like seriously, you guys can pull them for wherever. You just say, hey guys, I have a house that's coming on the market, X, let me know if you're interested. And then just go door knock if you need to. Letters of the hearts, I recommend sending them out January, June, and November. And then you can do 2 holiday pop-bys or community contests, which I think are going to be pretty big this year. Holidays I like to celebrate, truthfully, are Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and I celebrate Christmas, but you can just do a happy holidays, right? Super, super helpful. People love gifts. I send out, like this last time I sent out those hot chocolate bombs. People love sharing this kind of stuff on social media. It's really great. But you can do like contests for Christmas lights, pumpkin carvings, Easter egg hunts. You know, I send people out Valentine's Day cards. I think they're super cute. So additional ways to make your clients feel loved, right? When you have a database that's super organized, okay, you can also keep track of life events. Another reason why I love Facebook. These are all the life events, right, that mean that people might be moving from their house. They get engaged, they break up, they get married, they get pregnant, they get a promotion, right? Death of a family member, right? They retire from their job, children go to college. These are all reasons why people need to sell their real estate. When you pay attention to these life events, you can reach out authentically about their life event and re-engage in communication, right? And then if you followed up with a fun gift, like that you really heard, people love it. I send out wedding planners all the time, Webinub passies for like things that I love for my kids. Wedding glasses when people just get engaged. We donate to people's GoFundMe charities, their honeymoon funds. I mean, you name it, but we really participate with gifts. It goes such a long way. And then cheap birthday program ideas. Okay, I send out sprinkles cupcakes. That is not an affordable one if you're just starting out, just so you know. So you can send out $2 bills. I love that. It's super fun. They're nostalgic. We all remember them, right? Tell somebody that they're special and important. You can do scratcher tickets. People love them. I had somebody win $500 recently off a scratcher ticket I sent them. You could just do Facebook shout outs, right? Take a picture of you and them, write something super sweet about them, right? That could be your Facebook program or your birthday program, okay? And then don't forget the power of a personal note. This is, I think, one of the lost arts of database management is letting people know how much you love them. Right now, we're just like so inundated full of crap. Like, I mean, we get like mailers, we get coupons, we get like all kinds of advertisements every single direction. I love personal mail. I get so excited this year. I could not wait to open everyone's holiday cards. They meant so much. So just a general thank you because you know them and love them. A thank you for coming or for participating. Thank you for a referral. You know, thank you for being such a great friend or an awesome client. You know, thanks for participating in my community group, right? All of these things, there's a variety of reasons that you can do it. And again, you can take that same format, right, that we took for the letter of the heart, condense it a little bit, and use it for your personal notes. Okay, so I'm going to open this up for questions. Whew, there's lots of questions. Okay, alrighty, so let's see. Okay. 7 Levels of the Communication was the book that I mentioned. Also, another really great database book, Mr. Schmooze. It's like hands down, taught me all about my gifting program. It's a great book. It's all about how to connect with people. Awesome. Can you chat in place of a video system that I mentioned? Can you place in the chat the video system that I mentioned? Oh, it's BombBomb is the video system. And I have a Brio Logitech. So I'll text you out that, Sylvie. The CRM that I mentioned was Follow Up Boss. And then I personally use Salesforce because I have a team of 30 people. Okay. Let's see. I will get you guys a copy of the letter of the heart if you guys want it, for sure. And then do I share all of these post family recipes on my personal page or business page? So I have everything on personal pages. I only have business pages because I do invest in advertisements and clients will message us there. But I rarely ever do any kind of personal posting on my business page because it gets very little traction. So everything I have is public. So like everyone can see everything. And then I just make it a point, like every Sunday I have like a family dinner, I post like what I've made, and then I have a recipe exchange with people. So that's another creative way to connect with your database is invite them to do things like a recipe exchange. All right, let's see. I think I went through all of the questions that were on here. Do you guys have any other questions? You guys can unmute yourselves. or you can just put them in the chat and I'll answer them. Anyone? There's 33 of you. Seriously, no one has questions? Alrighty. Well, guys, I will make oh, thanks, Frank. I appreciate you. I will make all of this information available to you guys. I'm going to send this entire workbook to Kelly to go ahead and email out to all of you guys, in addition to the letter of the heart, so you guys can read it. If you have additional database questions or want tips on like how to post, how to be connected, let me know. Next month's class, I'm going to be teaching on how to market the market, right? So people, I've seen a ton of varieties of people who like take really high level information and try to post it online. It's really ineffective. So I'm going to be teaching on that and would love for you guys to come next month to that class. So if you found value in today's class, please remember that I am a loan officer and not a public speaker, and would appreciate any and all of your referrals. So
Lizy, real quick.
Yeah.
Danielle put in the chat referencing that you put in, you referenced Google as your database or your CRM to begin with before you started moving on to follow-up.
Yes, it was, yep, Google first, then Follow-Up Boss is what I would recommend second, and then Salesforce. Google is just like legit, just like Gmail. Okay, awesome. Alrighty, guys. Well, we finished 10 minutes early, so hopefully it means you can get 10 more minutes of prospecting in.